When most people discover that magnesium supports over 300 biochemical reactions in the body, their first instinct is to supplement right away, and often they decide to take it alongside vitamin D3, thinking they'll supercharge their health. It sounds logical at first, doesn't it? Magnesium helps activate vitamin D, and vitamin D is crucial for immunity, bone strength, and hormone balance. But the truth is, the body doesn't always respond to logic the way we expect it to. In fact, taking both together at the wrong time or in the wrong way can actually do more harm than good. You see, magnesium is like a key that unlocks many of vitamin D's benefits. Without enough magnesium, your body struggles to convert vitamin D into its active form. But here's where it gets tricky when you flood your system with both at once, especially in supplement form. You can overwhelm the delicate balance your liver and kidneys work so hard to maintain. These organs are responsible for processing and activating vitamin D, and they rely on magnesium to do it efficiently. If both nutrients show up at high doses simultaneously, your body may not know which to prioritize. What happens next is a sort of nutritional traffic jam. Your metabolism slows down, your enzyme systems get overloaded, and instead of feeling more energized or focused, you may feel the opposite: drained, foggy, or even tense. This is why some people start taking magnesium glycinate and vitamin D3 together, and then wonder why their muscles still cramp or why they're feeling unusually tired. It's not that these nutrients are bad, it's that timing, dosage, and context matter. Think of it like watering a plant. Water is essential, but pour too much at once, and you don't nourish the roots, you drown them. The same principle applies to your biochemistry. When you provide your body with nutrients too quickly or in overlapping ways, it can't absorb them properly. Another layer people often overlook is how these nutrients compete for absorption pathways. Magnesium, calcium, and vitamin D all interact in your intestines and bloodstream. When you take a large dose of magnesium glycinate at the same time as vitamin D3, both are absorbed in the small intestine, and they may interfere with each other's transport systems. Instead of each doing its job optimally, they can compete for entry, leaving you with less benefit from both. So, ironically, in the effort to optimize health, you can end up diminishing the very results you're chasing. There's also the hormonal aspect. Vitamin D acts more like a hormone than a vitamin. When activated, it signals your cells to absorb calcium, influences immune function, and supports your mood, regulating pathways. Magnesium plays a behind-the-scenes role in making this possible, but it's also a calming mineral. It supports relaxation, sleep quality, and nerve stability. If both are taken together, especially in the morning or on an empty stomach, the stimulating effect of vitamin D can clash with magnesium's relaxing properties. One is trying to energize you, while the other is trying to calm you down. That internal tug-of-war can leave you feeling off balance or fatigued, and you may not even realize why. It's much wiser to space them out so they can support each other rather than compete. Vitamin D3, being fat soluble, is best taken with a meal that contains healthy fats. Breakfast or lunch are ideal. Magnesium glycinate, on the other hand, works beautifully in the evening, helping your body wind down, relax your muscles, and prepare for restorative sleep. By separating their timing, you allow your body to process vitamin D in daylight hours when it naturally would, and magnesium at night when your parasympathetic system is active. This simple adjustment can completely transform how you feel: better energy in the morning, deeper rest at night, and a more balanced sense of well-being throughout the day. Many people make the mistake of thinking more is always better, but the body doesn't thrive on excess, It thrives on rhythm. The same nutrient can be beneficial or counterproductive depending on how you introduce it. That's why balance is the essence of true nutrition. Even though magnesium is needed to activate vitamin D, it doesn't mean they should always arrive together. You want synergy, not simultaneity. If you've been taking both together and noticing side effects like fatigue, nausea, muscle twitching, or even digestive upset, that's your body's feedback mechanism. It's saying, slow down, let me do my job. The body's wisdom always outweighs our impatience. Supporting it doesn't mean bombarding it with supplements. It means understanding its timing, its flow, its natural pace of transformation. When you start viewing nutrients not as isolated fixes, but as part of a living system, everything changes. You begin to feel more in tune with your body's rhythms. You stop chasing quick results and start cultivating lasting health. So, before reaching for that next capsule of magnesium glycinate and vitamin D3, remember this: your body doesn't need more input, it needs smarter timing. Balance, not abundance, is what truly fuels vitality. Vitamin K2 is one of those nutrients that quietly does some of the most important work inside your body, yet most people don't even realize how essential it is, especially when combined with vitamin D3 and magnesium. The problem isn't that these nutrients are bad together, it's that they can easily push your system out of balance if you take them at the wrong time or in the wrong ratios. Vitamin K2's main job is to direct calcium where it belongs into your bones and teeth, and away from where it doesn't belong, like your arteries and soft tissues. Think of it as the traffic controller of your calcium network. Without K2, calcium can end up in all the wrong places, no matter how much vitamin D or magnesium you take. Now, this sounds great on paper, right? Take vitamin D3 to absorb calcium, magnesium to activate it, and K2 to guide it. But when you stack them all together, especially in supplement form, you can actually confuse your body's natural timing. Calcium metabolism is not something that happens in a single moment. It's a slow, continuous cycle influenced by your circadian rhythm, your meals, your hormones, and even your level of physical activity. If you take all these nutrients together, you may end up with calcium moving faster than your tissues can handle. That's when problems start to appear: muscle cramps, chest tightness, fatigue, or even that strange feeling of pressure behind your eyes. These aren't random symptoms. They're your body's way of saying the orchestra is playing too loud. You see, nutrition isn't just about what you take, it's about when you take it. Vitamin K2, for instance, works best when calcium levels in the blood start to rise, such as after a meal containing dairy or leafy greens. That's the perfect time for K2 to show up and guide that calcium into your bones. But if you take it alongside vitamin D3, which triggers calcium absorption from the gut, and magnesium, which helps activate D3, you may be stacking all three signals at once: absorption, activation, and deposition before your body has time to regulate the process. Instead of harmony, you create chaos. Your cells become overwhelmed, and your body ends up storing calcium where it shouldn't. I've seen people experience subtle issues from this without even realizing it. They'll say, "I'm taking D3, K2, and magnesium because I heard they work together." Yet they feel off. Maybe they're not sleeping as well. Maybe their muscles twitch more. Maybe they're dealing with new joint stiffness. What's really happening is that their nutrient timing is off. They're firing all cylinders simultaneously instead of in sequence. It's like trying to digest your dinner while running a marathon. The body can technically do both, but not efficiently. Another important aspect people overlook is dosage sensitivity. Vitamin K2, particularly in the MK7 form, has a long half-life. It stays active in your system for a day or more. That means taking it too frequently or in combination with high doses of vitamin in D3 can keep your calcia, regulating hormones constantly on. Your body never gets the pause it needs to reset. Over time, this can contribute to subtle imbalances in calcium signaling that affect your nerves, muscles, and cardiovascular system. So, instead of strengthening your bones and protecting your arteries, you might unintentionally strain them. The smarter approach is to give each nutrient its moment. Vitamin D3 does its best work when taken earlier in the day, ideally with a meal that contains healthy fats because it's a fat-soluble vitamin. That's when your metabolism is active and your body is naturally primed to absorb and use sunlight-derived nutrients like D3. Vitamin K2, however, doesn't need to be taken at that same moment. Having it later in the day, with dinner or your last meal, allows it to direct the calcium from earlier in the day towards your bones more effectively. Magnesium fits beautifully in the evening routine, as it calms your nervous system and supports overnight repair. Timing them this way not only enhances absorption, but also mimics the body's natural rhythm. During the day, you're in a state of activation, absorbing, moving, and building energy. At night, your body turns toward repair and restoration. Nutrients should support that rhythm, not fight it. When you align supplementation with your body's natural cycles, you stop forcing results and start experiencing them. This is why it's so important to resist the urge to mix everything at once. Just because nutrients work together doesn't mean they should be taken together. Even within nature, balance exists through sequence. The sunrise doesn't happen at the same time as the sunset, yet both are necessary for life. The same concept applies to how your body manages magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2. If you've been combining all three and wondering why you feel slightly off, don't think of it as failure. Think of it as feedback. Your body is asking for better coordination, not more supplements. Spacing them out gives your system room to breathe, process, and perform. That's how you allow the orchestra of your metabolism to create real harmony, not noise, not chaos, but true biological music that sustains your health for the long term. Balance isn't about taking everything together. It's about knowing when each part of your body's symphony should play its note. Most people don't realize that the way their supplements interact inside the gut can completely change how effective they are. You can have the highest quality vitamins in the world, but if your body isn't absorbing them properly, they're just expensive powders passing through your system. That's especially true for magnesium glycinate, vitamin D3, and K2, three nutrients that people often take together without understanding how differently they behave during digestion. Each one follows its own path, uses specific enzymes, and interacts with different parts of your digestive lining. When they're all taken at once, those paths can cross in ways that reduce how much your body can actually use. Magnesium glycinate, for instance, is known for its gentle nature. It's a chelated form of magnesium bound to the amino acid glycine, which helps it absorb more easily and minimizes digestive upset. But even though it's well tolerated, it still competes for space in your intestinal transport channels. These are the same channels that handle certain amino acids and minerals, and when magnesium glycinate shows up at the same time as fat-soluble vitamins like D3 and K2, which need bile acids and dietary fats for absorption, the balance inside your gut shifts, the pH changes, bile release timing changes, and the overall absorption efficiency of all three nutrients can drop. So while it feels convenient to take them together, you might actually be cutting their effectiveness in half without realizing it. This is where understanding bioavailability becomes so important. Vitamin D3 and K2 are both fat-soluble, meaning they dissolve in fats and need to be taken with a meal that contains some form of healthy fat Avocado, olive oil, eggs, or nuts are perfect examples. Magnesium glycinate, however, doesn't depend on fat for absorption. It actually prefers a neutral environment and works best on its own, often in the evening when your digestive system isn't overloaded. When taken together, these differences create internal competition. The body can't prioritize all of them equally. It either focuses on digesting fats for vitamin D and K2, or moves magnesium through the amino acid pathway. In trying to do both, it compromises efficiency on both sides. What many people experience as ineffective supplements, the idea that nothing's working, often comes down to this timing problem. You might have perfect doses, the right brands, and even great intentions, but if your digestive system can't process them in harmony, the results will never show up. It's not that your body is broken, it's that the delivery timing is off. The digestive system works like a well-tuned machine that runs on cycles, not chaos. And the moment we overload it, it stops performing at its best. There's another layer here that often goes unnoticed. When you take magnesium glycinate with vitamin D3 and K2, you're not just mixing nutrients, you're mixing the signals those nutrients send to your metabolism. Vitamin D3 increases calcium absorption from the intestines. Magnesium helps activate the enzymes that convert vitamin D into its active form in the liver and kidneys. And K2 helps guide the calcium where it needs to go. On paper, they sound like a perfect team. But when all these processes are triggered at once, your body doesn't get the chance to regulate each step in sequence. It's like trying to bake bread while the oven, the mixer, and the timer are all running out of sync. The outcome won't be balanced, and something will end up half done. Spacing them properly allows each nutrient to do its job fully before the next step begins. Take vitamin D3 and K2 during the day with a meal. That's when your metabolism is active and your body is ready to process fats efficiently. Then reserve magnesium glycinate for the evening, ideally after dinner or just before bed. Magnesium not only supports hundreds of enzymatic functions, but also calms the nervous system, stabilizes blood sugar, and helps you transition into a deeper state of rest. It becomes your body's way of resetting after a day of activity, while D3 and K2 handle the daytime energy, bone, and immune functions. The other advantage of this separation is how it supports your gut health. Constantly bombarding your digestive system with mixed nutrients can disrupt the microbiome balance over time. Your gut bacteria respond to rhythm. They help break down and absorb nutrients more efficiently when there's predictability. By giving them consistency, vitamin D3 and K2 earlier in the day, magnesium later, you're actually training your gut to absorb better. It's a small shift with a big payoff. Another point worth noting is that supplement forms vary in how they're absorbed. Vitamin D3 and K2 often come in oil-based capsules or drops, which depend on bile flow for proper absorption. Magnesium glycinate, being water-soluble, uses a completely different mechanism. If you mix oil-based and water-based nutrients together, one can dominate the absorption process, leaving the other behind. You may think you're optimizing by combining them, but in reality, you're creating competition in your digestive tract. That's why understanding the basic chemistry of these nutrients makes such a difference, not because you need to be a scientist, but because knowing when and how to take them can determine whether your body actually benefits. Health isn't about taking more, it's about absorbing better. You can take a handful of pills every morning, but if your gut can't process them in a way that supports your natural rhythm, you're just feeding your supplements, not your cells. True wellness happens when your nutrients work with your biology, not against it. And that comes from respecting timing, understanding synergy, and trusting your body's natural intelligence to do what it does best: heal, balance, and thrive when given the right rhythm. One of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to supplementation is assuming that more is automatically better. They read a few articles online, watch a few videos, and before long, their cabinet is filled with bottles of magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2, all taken together because they've heard those nutrients work in synergy. And while it's true that these vitamins and minerals complement each other, that synergy only works when your body actually needs them, and when you take them in a way that aligns with your individual biology. What most people don't realize is that the same combination that helps one person thrive can make another feel exhausted, dizzy, or even anxious. This is why I always say, test, don't guess. Listen to your body before you listen to the internet. Every nutrient you take interacts with your body's unique chemistry. Magnesium, for example, affects hundreds of enzymes that control nerve function, muscle activity, and energy production. Vitamin D3, on the other hand, influences everything from calcium absorption to hormone balance. K2 ensures that calcium goes to your bones instead of your arteries. But these nutrients don't exist in isolation. They form part of an intricate network that responds differently depending on your genetics, your diet, your sleep, and even your stress levels. So, when you start supplementing without knowing where your baseline levels stand, you're essentially flying blind. You might be taking magnesium because you rate it helps you relax, but if your magnesium levels are already sufficient and your vitamin D is low, you could actually throw your balance off further. This is why lab testing is so important. It's not about medicalizing nutrition, it's about personalization. A simple blood test can reveal your serum magnesium levels, your vitamin D status, and whether your calcium balance is in a healthy range. Once you know those numbers, you can make informed decisions instead of guesses. Without that information, you're working off assumptions, and your body pays the price for it. Because when you overshoot on supplements, your organs, particularly your liver and kidneys, have to work harder to process the excess. Over time, this can create fatigue, muscle cramps, or strange symptoms like heart palpitations, which are often mistaken for other issues. Listening to your body is the second piece of the equation. Your body is constantly giving you feedback, but we've been trained to ignore it. When you start a new supplement and suddenly feel more tired, get headaches, or feel restless at night, that's not coincidence. Those are signals. Magnesium, D3, and K2 each influence the way your nervous system and metabolism communicate. If something feels off after adding them together, that's your body's way of saying the balance isn't right. Sometimes it's not even that one of them is bad. It's simply that you're taking them at the wrong time or in the wrong ratio for your needs. For example, if you take a high dose of vitamin D3 without enough magnesium, you might start feeling sluggish or irritable because magnesium is required to activate vitamin D in your liver. Without it, the inactive form builds up and your body can't use it efficiently. On the other hand, taking too much magnesium without enough vitamin D can leave you with low calcium absorption, even if your diet is rich in calcium. Add K2 into that mix, and if your timing or dosage is off, calcium can end up in places you don't want it, like your blood vessels instead of your bones. These are subtle imbalances that take time to show up, but your body will always give you early signs. Fatigue, irregular sleep, brain fog, or muscle twitching, these are whispers from your system that it's time to slow down and reassess. The solution isn't to stop supplementing, it's to become more strategic about it. Get your levels checked every few months, especially if you're making changes to your routine or diet. And remember that food should always come first. Real magnesium comes from greens, seeds, and whole grains. Vitamin D3 comes from sunlight and fatty fish. K2 is found in fermented foods like natto, cheese, and eggs. Supplements are tools to fill gaps, not to replace nature. When your diet provides the foundation and your supplements simply support it, your body stays in a state of balance rather than dependency. It's also important to consider lifestyle factors that can alter how you process these nutrients. If you're under chronic stress, you burn through magnesium faster. If you spend most of your time indoors, your vitamin D levels drop no matter how much you eat. If your digestion is weak or you're not eating enough healthy fats, your ability to absorb K2 and D3 decreases. These are all small, daily realities that change how your body handles nutrients. Ignoring them is like trying to fix a leak without checking where the water is coming from. So instead of asking, "What supplement should I take?" start asking, "What is my body actually telling me?" Because the body always speaks first, through your energy, your sleep, your digestion, and even your mood. When you start paying attention, you'll find that your body often needs less than you think. It's not about adding more, but about understanding more. Health isn't built from the number of capsules you take each morning. It's built from awareness, patience, and balance. Your body is wise enough to restore itself when you give it the right tools at the right time. All you have to do is listen.